August 6, 1945. In the skies above Hiroshima, Japan, an American B-29 bomber flies silently. It is 8:15 a.m. The people of the city are just starting their day. Children are heading to school. No one knows that after this exact moment, the world will never be the same again. Suddenly, a blinding light, a flash, seemingly 1,000 times brighter than the sun. Then, a massive mushroom-shaped cloud pierced the heavens. In just seconds, yes, just seconds, an entire city was turned to dust. This was the beginning of the end of World War II. But how did this horrific war actually end? Which specific events brought a conclusion to this destruction? And after this war, how much did our familiar world change? Today, I'm going to tell you that story. In our previous episode, we learned why this war started. And today, we'll find out how it all ended and what the consequences were for the post-war world. If you are new to the channel, subscribe right now. Come, let's travel back to that dark chapter in history. Why Hitler lost. Until 1941, Hitler's Germany had swallowed almost all of Europe. France had fallen, Norway had fallen, Belgium had fallen. Britain stood alone, fighting with all its might, but everyone doubted how long they could hold out. But then, 3 major events back to back forever changed the course of the war. Cracks began to appear in the walls of Hitler's invincible empire. Invasion of the Soviet Union, 1941. In June of 1941, Hitler turned on his ally and attacked the Soviet Union, launching Operation Barbarossa. At first, Germany advanced at lightning speed. But Russia's vast territory, the bone-chilling winter, and the desperate resistance of the Soviet army literally trapped the German forces in the ice. The Battle of Stalingrad in 1942-43, that was the turning point. In 6 months of a bloody nightmare, Germany lost its very best army, over 300,000 soldiers. This was Hitler's first major defeat, a point from which Germany could never recover.
Entry of America, 1941. On December 7th, 1941, without warning, Japan launched a devastating sneak attack on the U.S. naval base at Pearl Harbor in the Pacific. While the base was sleeping, hundreds of U.S. warplanes were destroyed, and warship after warship sank to the bottom of the harbor. The very next day, America declared war on Japan, and as allies of Japan, Germany and Italy also declared war on America. America entered the war, and this one event completely shifted the balance of the entire war. America's endless industrial might, mountains of money, and massive army effectively made the Allied powers unstoppable. Third turning point, D-Day, 1944. June 6, 1944, the largest military operation in human history. On the coast of Normandy, France, over 150,000 Allied soldiers stormed the beaches at once. This is the famous D-Day. Like a tidal wave, wave upon wave of soldiers descended upon the sands of France. After this operation, America and the UK from the west, and the Soviet Union from the east, began to squeeze Germany like a giant pincer closing. For Hitler, there was no path left to escape. Hitler's final days and Germany's fall. The beginning of 1945, Germany's situation was horrific. An army being crushed from 2 sides, internal collapse. Defeat was simply a matter of time. Racing from the east is the Soviet Red Army. From the west, American and British forces. Caught in the middle is a depleted, exhausted German army, many of whom have no desire left to fight. Germany's cities are falling like a house of cards. Civilians are fleeing in panic, fearing for their lives. There is no food, no fuel. The Germany that Hitler once dreamed of making a superpower was now literally turning into dust.
Hitler's final day. In April of 1945, Soviet forces had completely encircled the city of Berlin. Hitler was in his secret bunker, deep beneath Berlin. The man who was once the most powerful in the world was now hiding underground like a rat, while right above his head, his beloved empire was crumbling into pieces. April 30, 1945, Adolf Hitler committed suicide. Right beside him, taking her own life as his last companion, was his wife, Eva Braun. Hitler had dreamed of giving Germany a 1,000-year Reich,
empire,
yet his empire lasted
to 12.
barely 12 years. Germany's surrender. Barely 8 days after Hitler's death, on May 8, 1945, Germany officially bowed down, surrendered. This very day is called VE Day, or Victory in Europe Day. There were unrestrained celebrations on the streets of Europe. People are crying with joy, embracing one another. A 6-year-long nightmare had finally come to an end. The war in Europe is over, but in the heart of the Pacific Ocean, a different kind of hellfire was still burning. Even though a breeze of peace blew in Europe, Japan was still fighting desperately. And Japan was certainly not one to surrender easily. Japan's resistance. In Japanese military culture, surrender was an ultimate insult. Japanese soldiers were ready to die with a smile, but not to bow their heads. Kamikaze pilots strapped explosives to their planes and crashed them directly into American warships. When America went to conquer the island of Okinawa, on just that one small island, over 100,000 people were killed. American military experts calculated a horrific figure. If they directly invaded the main islands of Japan, at least 1 million more people would die on both sides. And it was seeing this very statistic that a momentous, world-changing decision was made. The atomic decision. American President Harry Truman took a terrifying path. The Manhattan Project had developed in absolute secrecy a weapon he now ordered to be used, the atomic bomb. A decision that historians still debate to this day. August 6, 1945. Hiroshima. Little boy. An atomic bomb with this innocent name was dropped on Hiroshima. Just a few seconds. In the blink of an eye, nearly 80,000 fresh lives simply vaporized. In the end, the death toll reached close to 140,000. August 9th, 1945. Nagasaki. Even after the unimaginable destruction of Hiroshima, Japan did not surrender. 3 days later, a second bomb named Fat Man was dropped on Nagasaki. Once again, the brutal death of another 70,000, 80,000 people. The radioactive poison of these two bombs killed thousands more people little by little in the years that followed. Hiroshima and Nagasaki remain one of the darkest, most painful chapters in human history. Japan's surrender. August 15th, 1945, Japanese Emperor Hirohito came on the radio. He announced the surrender. It was the first time in history that the common people of Japan got to hear their emperor's actual voice, and that voice was delivering the shameful news of defeat. On September 2nd, 1945, on the deck of the American warship, the USS Missouri, the instrument of surrender was officially signed. World War II was over forever.
Exactly how many people died in World War II? It's a figure that makes you shudder just to hear it. Approximately 70 to 80 million people, roughly 3% of the entire world's population at that time. That number might not easily sink into our heads, but just close your eyes for a moment and think. Behind every single unit of that massive number was a living, breathing life, a family, dreams that were ended in an instant. The heaviest losses were suffered by the Soviet Union, approximately 27 million people. In China, too, over 15 million lost their lives. The Holocaust, history's most calculated genocide. The darkest, most disgraceful chapter of this war was the Holocaust. Hitler's Nazi government, with cold calculation and a deliberate plan, murdered 6 million Jews. Not just Jews, they also wiped another 5 million people off the face of the earth. Romani, the disabled, members of the LGBTQ community, and political opponents.
They were pushed into gas chambers, thousands at a time, and murdered by suffocation from toxic gas. It was done mechanistically, as if they were not flesh and blood humans, but garbage. Section 5. The Fall of the British and Independence. However, even in the midst of this horrific destruction, a massive change occurred, one that directly touched many parts of the globe. Even after winning the war, old imperialist powers like Great Britain and France were completely hollowed out from the inside. They no longer had the financial or military strength to forcibly hold on to their colonies across the world. Over the next 2 decades, dozens of countries across Africa and Asia broke their chains and emerged. Nearly 80 new independent countries were added to the world map. This war proved to the entire world that the old European masters were certainly not invincible. They fall too. And it was this truth that birthed a new fire in the hearts of freedom fighters worldwide.
What did we learn?
After World War II ended, standing upon the rubble of Berlin, a Soviet soldier wrote in his diary, "We have won this war, but there is no one left to share the joy of this victory." When you read that statement, your heart just hollows out. Nearly every family on Earth lost someone dear to them. Horrible scars remained in the heart of every city. The victors and the defeated. In reality, both sides lost. Humanity lost. This war taught us a supreme truth. Peace never falls from the sky. Peace must be actively achieved, and it must be protected. Whenever ultranationalism rears its head anywhere on Earth, whenever a leader creates a hateful division of us versus them, that is exactly when we must remember World War II. Because if we do not learn from history, history has a cruel way of repeating itself. I am ending today's episode here. If this story gave you a single moment of reflection, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. See you in the next video. Stay well.